And a good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the Express Bet First Call Podcast presented by First Bet. I'm Jeremy Plonk alongside Jeff Siegel. Each week we handicap 8 stakes races over the weekend, and we get to extend the weekend to Monday. Big race coming up on Monday in Ohio. We'll include that one in our lineup. Jeff, I've got some news for you, though, out of Florida. Some new wagers coming to Gulfstream Park for the championship meet. The championship meet will begin December the 1st and run all the way through Florida Derby Day on March 31st next year in 2024. But the $3 Turf Pick 3, the Tropical Turf Pick 3, 15% takeout, $3 minimum wager is coming to Gulfstream Park. It'll be offered on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays during the championship meet. So looking forward to that.
Boy, am I ever. I mean, that is a great bet. Number one, for me personally, that's all I can speak to. I love grass racing, and half the races are on grass anyway. Number two is you got that $3 minimum, which means you actually have a chance to find some nuggets that not everybody and their mother are playing and throwing in just because it's cheap. So you actually have to, if you find something you like at a price, chances are it's going to be worth that in the exotic. And I just feel more comfortable handicapping turf races because so many serious horse players now, over the past decade or two or even 3 now, are playing with numbers and sheets and things like that. And those things to me are secondary when it comes to handicapping grass races. To me, it's more visual, it's more instinctive. There's a lot of other things that are not black and white when it comes into handicapping grass racing. And now that's what I do. That's my cup of tea, so to speak. So I'm enthusiastic about it. I love it. You get great grass racing, high-class grass racing at Gulfstream Park, getting it at Santa Anita as well. And that's where my focus is going to be turning to after the first of the year. I'm going to really do some work on that and, of course, publicize and publish selections and analysis for Express Bet players.
Sounds great. Turf racing is winding down in New York and Maryland this week and in the coming weeks. So fewer chances there, but it's opening up in other places. Opening day at Fairgrounds, where a renovated and revived turf course will be in play in New Orleans. So fingers crossed that things go better on the green down there this season than we saw in 2023. It's opening day at Fairgrounds, opening weekend. So a lot of great racing in that part of the country. Oaklawn's just a week or so away from their meet. So a cool time of year as we hit some transition. Of course, Santa Anita's big classic meet will open December the 26th for Southern California players. About that Gulfstream Championship meet, a couple big dates if you want to put them on your calendar for now. Pegasus World Cup will be January the 27th, 2024. That's set. A week later on February 3rd will be the Holy Bull. Then a month later, Fountain of Youth Day is going to be March 2nd. Then 4 weeks after the Fountain of Youth, of course, will be the big Florida Derby Day card on March the 30th. I believe I said 31st early, but Florida Derby Day, March 30th coming up for 2024. Here's our stake schedule and lineup that we'll have for you on the podcast today for the benefit of those of you watching on our video channels. Be sure to hit the like buttons, the retweets, the reposts. We want to build our audience up, put comments in the comment section. And for those of you listening on our traditional audio channels, here's the lineup that we will talk about. The Hill Prince, the Key Sense, and the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship, all from the Big A. Get things underway on our show. We'll have 3 races from New York. We'll go to Churchill Downs for the Chaluki on Saturday, then to Woodbine for the Kennedy Road, out to Del Mar for the Desi Arnaz and the Cary Grant. Those 2 races also on Saturday. And then we'll look ahead to Monday's big one. A lot of money, 6 figures plus on the line in the Mahoning Valley Steel Valley Sprint. Be sure to check that one out on Monday. Biggest race in Ohio. You get past the Ohio Derby and you start talking to Ohio racing, people kind of forget about it, and it's a weekday kind of fixture. We've got big-time stakes action with people coming from all over the country, riders, trainers, top horsemen in the Mahoning Valley Steel Valley Sprint. We'll talk about that one at the end of the show. Also give you a look at Golden Gate's feature this weekend, which is our Express Bet Race of the Week. I'll tell you about the Oakland Stakes. Jeff, let's start things off with the Hill Prince at Aqueduct on Saturday, race number 5, named for the 1950 Preakness winner. Chad Brown's got 3 in this race. He's won the Hill Prince 3 times. If he wins a 4th, he'll tie Bill Mott for the most all-time in this race. He's got a good chance based on the numbers of doing so with 3 in here. Who'd you like in the Hill Prince?
I think I like the one that I believe Chad Brown likes the best, and that's Equitize, and I'll explain that in a second. But we have an even money shot here, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with integration. His numbers are fast. His style is great. He's won his both races with a powerful late kick, and that's why he's even money on the morning line. And I understand he's going to be tough to beat, and he probably is going to be the one to win. But I'm going to gamble against him because there's a colt in here that I think is far better than the resume might indicate, and that's number 4, Equitize. He's an English-bred son of the incredibly top world-class stallion Kingman. Won his first start, his only start at Tampa Bay back in mid-March. Did it, and we'll watch the video in a minute, but did it without having any clue as to how to run, and still won going away, and ran like a colt that never even spent about 25% of his natural talents in doing so, looking around, galloped out full of run. And I think for him to not only come back and not allow one as a 2, but a stakes race, and then take Irod Ortiz Jr. as the rider when he's jumping off on a recent Kentucky Downs allowance race from the same barn, tells me what they think of this colt. I think he's got a very good chance to improve dramatically. Now, there's a 20-point difference in buyer numbers between integration and Equitize. Right. That's going to make it difficult for the average player to look at and say, oh, I think Equitize can win. I think I'm going to get 5-1. And I'm going to gamble that he's far better than the raw number shows. And that's what gambling is all about. And while I, again, recognize integration will be tough to beat, I think Equitize got a chance to be extraordinary as a 3-year-old now and as a 4-year-old next year. So I'm going to go with Equitize to pull off a surprise in the Hill Prince Stakes.
You heard about the numbers on the page. Let's see the horse in motion to see what Jeff's talking about here. Here's Equitize with Jason Beam on the call at Tampa Bay Downs.
Equitize starts to warm up on the outside. Those two coming 3 and 4 wide respectively as they turn into the top of the stretch. They have just over a furlong left to go. Saint-Nietz between horses. On the outside, Equitize. Equitize forges to a narrow advantage. Saint-Nietz is down toward the inside in second. They're 3 lengths clear of Anzio down the outside. It's Equitize and Hector Diaz Jr. pulling clear late. Equitize going to go on to win it here by 2.5. Saint-Nietz was second. It was a long way back to Anzio. Then came All Good here in a photo for 5th.
A 3 for Chad Brown in there, who also has Faraday, and also I'm Very Busy. The apropos named I'm Very Busy with Chad saddling 3 in the Hill Prince. Let's go to the Key Sense Stakes as we turn the page from race 5 to 7 on the Saturday card at Aqueduct. These are New York bred fillies. The Key Sense name for the 1999 Iroquois winner, the New York bred Key Sense. 6 furlong sprint here. Jeff, I got to tell you, I'm rooting for Ashburn Alley. I don't know if fans out there know Ashburn Alley, but that's the part of Citizens Bank Park where the Phillies play that is the concourse out there where all the food and everybody hangs out. So Ashburn Alley's my sentimental pick, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the career debut. That one winning at first asking for Kelly Bree, now transferred to the Tom Morley barn. So my heart and my mind are with Ashburn Alley. Where are you going for your concessions?
Well, on form, you would think that Kara's Time, who is 5-2 in the morning line and is won a stakes already, did that in the slop. Don't know how she's going to do it if it's fast ground or not, but she's pretty solid. Second in her next start, numbers are solid. I mean, she's logically the top pick. But Solo Shot to me is intriguing, and I'm going to go with her. Undefeated in 2 starts, broke her maiden first time out at Saratoga and then off the turfer. Did that by almost 8 lengths. Came back and won a little stake, state-bred stake at Fairgrounds. Did that on the lead. In fact, she's been on the lead in both starts, and she looks like a quality filly to me. And one of the reasons why I believe that is because you don't give $290,000 at auction in a 2-year-old in training sale by a filly by Solo Meany unless there's something extraordinary about it. That's a minor handicapping factor because the big spenders, they find horses like this, and for them to spend that kind of money for a filly like that with her pedigree indicates that she must have been very impressive in the previous session, and she's done everything right since. So I think she's probably better than the numbers would indicate. She's the quickest, I think, in the race, and she's getting better, and why not take her right back at 7-2?
Let's go to Finger Lakes for her victory in the Lady Finger Stakes. The shot heard round the world. You're going to hear from Tony Kalo.
Is sitting very chilly aboard Solo Shot. A favorable flow, and they have to run her down. Solo Shot handling this race pretty easily. The leader at the 8th pole from Red Wine and Whiskey. Unicorn Cake from the far outside, like a rolling stone along the rail. But it's all Solo Shot. Solo Shot delivers the shot heard round the world in the Lady Finger. Solo Shot gate to wire.
So the shot heard round the world was at Finger Lakes, and it was thrown down by the Alex Bregman co-owned Solo Shot. We'll see if Solo Shot can double down in stakes company. Going from the Lady Finger to the Key Sense. That's Jeff's top pick. A lot of baseball action here. I mean, Solo Shot in Ashburn Alley. If you hit a ball into Ashburn Alley, that's a towering shot. So
Yes.
we shall see if we get the baseball double play in the 7th at Aqueduct, the Key Sense Stakes. Let's switch up now and go next at Aqueduct on our schedule to our third and final from New York on Saturday. It's the featured race, the $150,000 Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship. 6 furlongs in this one, and this race was inaugurated in 2017. 3-year-olds have had some success in here, winning 2 of the last 3, but I think the veterans are probably lined up in this one as the 3-year-olds are really just vacation dancing here, representing the sophomores, and that one will be a price for John Kimmel. So looking towards the older horses in here, Jeff, and which one caught your fancy most?
I ended up with Our Shot. He's an older horse. He's a lightly raced 4-year-old who'll be 5 pretty soon, but he's only had 11 starts, 5 wins, 2 seconds, and a third, so he's consistent. He's also coming out of the Woodford. I thought he ran really well in that race, and I think he's the kind of horse, if you look at his form, he's pretty versatile. Yeah. He's won on the lead, so he can certainly have enough pace to do that, but he might even be more comfortable when allowed to get some cover early and then blast home. And he's run very well, very consistent. I mean, look at his form. He's just terrific. Last time out in the Woodford, he picked up the pieces to finish second. I thought that was a legitimate race. It was just a cut below the Breeders' Cup type horses. In fact, I think the horse that was favored in that race was one of the favorites in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. So so Our Shot has been running against better. And this is his first start at the Aqueduct over the grass course. But wherever he is, whether it's close to the pace or whether he's somewhere in mid-pack, he'll have a long enough stretch to work with. I think Our Shot can produce the last run. Irod Ortiz Jr. takes over the mount, so it all adds up to Our Shot. He is 5-2 in the morning line. Big field, competitive field. I wouldn't take a lot less than that, but I think that's probably right.
Defending champ and third place finisher in this race last year, all back, nothing better. Won this race at 9-1 last year. Thin White Duke was third at 6-1, so they are involved. And good luck to track announcer Chris Griffith on this one, as he's got to call Wit and Witty in the same race. Try to keep those two straight. Jeff went for something wittier, though. He's going for the pick in here with Our Shot, his top pick in the Aqueduct Turf Sprint Championship. To Churchill Downs, we go on Saturday for their featured race. Next up is the Chaluki. It's race number 10 on the card in Louisville. $300,000. This is a one-turn mile, and you know, you think Chaluki, you think Bob Baffert, and you're wondering, why is there a stakes race at Churchill Downs named after a Bob Baffert trainee? All the current hubbub aside, and that's not where I'm going with it, people may not remember, Chaluki started her career at Churchill 3 for 3, won a couple stakes races as a 2-year-old. Then she came back, won the Churchill Downs Distaff as a 4-year-old, I believe she was at the time. Then a couple years later, she's 4 for 4 lifetime at Churchill Downs. Chaluki, certainly a impressive runner at Churchill, and they renamed that race she won, the Churchill Distaff, after her in hindsight. So the race that bears her name now, one that she won back in the day, back in 2000, now carries her name. It's grade 3 company here, one-turn mile. Jeff, who'd you like in this spot?
I ended up with Nostalgic on the inside, going a one-turn mile. And if you look at her form, she's been two-turning almost all of her career, and she's won some races and done well. Yeah. But boy, she strikes me as a miler, and I think a one-turn mile will be perfect for her. If you look at her 2 races at Saratoga, which is not really a one-turn mile, but it's like a 1.5-turn mile. I mean, she got beat in neck in an allowance race, came back and earned a 96 Beyer number 2 races back when she won an allowance race. And she was a respectable third, not a great third, but third in the Beldame, which is a mile and an eighth. That might be a little stretching her limit a little bit, and nothing wrong with finishing this distant third to randomize. So I thought that maybe this turn back to a mile coming out of a tough race and with numbers that are very competitive with these and a healthy work pattern since that early October race. To me, I think she's got enough tactical speed to draft in the second flight, save ground, and then have every chance. So at 9-2 in the morning line for Bill Mott, I like Nostalgic to win the Chaluki.
She Can't Sing won this race last year at 7-2, but you look at the running lines there, wire to wire. Ice Orchid second, Liberty MD third. This race is infinitely tougher than what she faced there. This is a much better edition of the Chaluki than what we saw last November. She Can't Sing, defending champ, certainly could run well here. She's run well at Churchill in the past 4 wins over the track, but this will be a tougher test. I think Hidden Connection's one of those horses. When you look at the record, you say 1 for 5 lifetime at Churchill. She's run some really good races here, and she's just run into some super competition. I think she's really on a class drop against this particular field. She's taken on Search Results, Society, Idiomatic, Secret Oath. I mean, you look down the running lines, Hidden Connection hasn't ducked many really tough spots. This is a much easier spot, even though it's a better edition of this race than we saw a year ago, but it's nothing like what Hidden Connections has been running against. And I thought some of her races at Churchill have been actually really, really good. So I'm going to give her a shot. It's Tyler Gaffleone. You're probably not going to get, much of an overlay price when you get Gaffleone on a class drop for sure. But Hidden Connection one, I think, is better than that 5-1-1-1 record at Churchill might indicate over the local strip. Let's go to Woodbine next. It's the Kennedy Road Stakes, and the Kennedy Road at Woodbine is a Grade 2 6-furlong sprint. Kennedy Road was no sprinter, though, Jeff. For fans of yesteryear racing, this horse was a Southern California star, winning the 1973 Hollywood Gold Cup. Of course, as a 3-year-old, won the Queen's Plate in Canada, so Canadian runner who had a lot of success in Southern California. Kennedy Road won the Queen's Plate the year I was born.
Well, he actually could sprint. He was just so good that they ran him long because that's where the money was. But I remember Charlie Whittingham had him out here, and he's a great looking horse, and he had an incredible amount of speed. And leave it to Charlie to take that speed and able to get him to switch off, relax, and then be effective in some of those races. So he was a fantastic racehorse. And this, you never think of him as being a 6-furlong horse, but I'll tell you, in looking at this race, Patches O'Houlihan, he's one of these horses that he is a sprinter. I mean, he is. This is what he likes to do. It's hard to argue with 6 for 6 perfection, which is what he is at Woodbine over the all-weather.
Right.
I used to think, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. I used to think that grass and all weather were kind of transferable, but it isn't. I mean, it's a unique surface in its own right. I'm not saying that grass horses can't handle it, and they probably have a better chance of handling a switch from turf to all weather than the dirt horses do. But you get 6 for 6, you should probably just stay on the synthetic. I don't care where you have to go, whether it's Woodbine or Gulfstream or Turfway or whoever else has it. And Patches O'Houlihan, he got beaten in the second start of his career, and that was on grass. He's proven he can handle on grass since then. But, man, and he's one of these horses that's quick enough to make the lead, but if he doesn't, he can sit, stalk, pounce, and go. He can look you in the eye and open up again. He's 8-5. He's a fun horse. He's a 3-year-old. He's going to tackle older horses. I know that, but he's beaten older horses in his last 2, so he don't care about that. And I think he's going to come back and win it again. And if those of you who saw Dodgeball know that Patches O'Houlihan was the name of the character who played the coach of the winning team there that Vince Vaughn played for. So anyway, there's Patches O'Houlihan. Let's see if he can continue his winning ways. I think he can.
So Jeff's coming high with the overhand, and he's firing it at Patches O'Houlihan. Now, you said undefeated over the main track at Woodbine, and yes, that's true. But if you go back and watch the Vigil Stakes, there was some uncertainty whether or not that was going to remain undefeated, because what a finish we had that day.
Yep. Chestnut running on, turning in front of the Vigil, and it's Rockcrest from Patches O'Houlihan, and down the outside trying to run for the back is Last American Exit and Old Chestnut, but Rockcrest is in front. Patches O'Houlihan trying desperately on the outside, and is coming now, and goes up and joins Rockcrest narrowly in front, and here's Last American Exit, and Secret Reserve is flying down the outside. A photo between Patches O'Houlihan and Last American Exit, and flying at them Secret Reserve, and on the inside Super Watson, a photo in the Vigil 1916.
see if Patches O'Houlihan can roll a lucky 7 in a row at Woodbine on the main track. And Jeff, we're going to keep this cinematic theme going because from Patches O'Houlihan to the Desi Arnaz, we go next out to Southern California and the Cary Grant for that matter, as Del Mar honors the stars of the silver screen and the small screen as well. Of course, Desi Arnaz from I Love Lucy fame. The race in his name is a 7 furlong sprint for the 2-year-old fillies. The Desi Arnaz doesn't have a big field, but it does have Royal Slipper involved. What do you make of this one?
Good race. Of course, Desi Arnaz, there's a street that you take to get to Del Mar called the Desi Arnaz. I don't know if it's road or whatever it is, but and he was very popular at Del Mar. He used to show up always and be the kind of like the unofficial mayor of Del Mar. And it was great for those of us who were old enough to remember I Love Lucy, and of course his wife Lucille Ball. She was a model in her younger days, and her modeling name was Lucy Belmont. And the reason why it was Lucy Belmont is because she went to Belmont Park once, loved the track, loved racing, and decided to change her name to honor Belmont Park. So both husband and wife were horse people and very popular in Southern California. Royal Slipper is going to be popular in the tote, I can promise you that. She's 4 to 5 in the morning line. After winning from the rail first time out at Keeneland, did it in style, earned a good number, never really was asked. And Jeremy, you know that she was entered back against the boys in a stakes race. At Keeneland was scratched. So there's a little bit of a layoff, but I don't think they were serious about running her in that race anyway. This is for her cup of tea, and she's facing fillies here. And if she's as good as I think she is, I think she'll kind of like demolish this field and go on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, the daughter of Uncle Mo was impressive in her debut. It was opening weekend at Keeneland, and this was opening day, in fact, and it was the only horse to win on the front end that day as Inside Speed collapsed throughout the card. That makes Royal Slipper's debut win even more impressive.
Slipper opens up here on a 4-length advantage, coming into the final furlong now by 5. Back to Loveland in second. Chilled is in third. Tanya Showers is in fourth. Charlotte's Approval to fifth. Final furlong for Royal Slipper. John Velasquez aboard, 16th to go. A 6-length lead back to Loveland. It is Royal Slipper. Royal Slipper, much the best here with Loveland home second. Tanya Showers across the wire in third.
Looking at a short price on Royal Slipper for Wesley Ward there in the Desi Arnaz. As for the Cary Grant, we got a little deeper field in this one to work with and a better betting race to be sure. It's race number 8 on the card at Del Mar. This is for older horses, Cowbreds in this particular sprint, 7 furlongs. And since the big Cowbred sprinter, he went in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, things are a little opened up in this particular spot in here for maybe somebody else to get in there where the Chosen Run is not.
Well, it's pretty easy to default to the Chosen Vron here back with Cowbreds after finishing 5th in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. The funny thing about that race was he finished 5th. He's beaten 5.5 lengths. He never really looked like he was a serious contender. He dropped into what should have been a good spot and just could not make any impression over Elite Power and Gunite. And those are the world-class horses. So. But the one thing about him is he earned a 98 Beyer number. So what it tells me is that the Chosen Run actually ran his race. He just ran against horses that were just better and are better, and that's as good as he could do. My problem with the Chosen Run, as we see this every year, Jerry, is that horses that seem to come back quickly out of a Breeders' Cup race tend to regress. I mean, not all of them do. Sometimes they go on and win again. But I've seen so many of these horses that over the years that are trained and they run as hard as they can in the Breeders' Cup, and then they come back quickly, just quickly, and then regress. And I'm looking at another. I'm going the opposite direction here because Big City Lights is anything. He's fresh, and he hasn't been out since January. Now you look at the form and you say, well, he's got beaten his last 3 starts by the Chosen Vron. He's not as good as the Chosen Vron because he couldn't beat him in 3 races. But he was a lightly raced colt at that time, and now he's grown up. He's now late 4. He's been off a long time, but go back. We're not showing the works here, but you can access them on xbtv.com. Look at his workouts, and this colt has grown up. I mean, this colt has a chance, even though he's a Cowbred, to be a major player. I think not only in this race, but the next year as a 5-year-old in the older sprint division, not just Cowbred and not just in California. And I think based on that, I'm expecting Big City Lights to run the race of his life off the bench for Richard Mandela. And I'm not expecting the Chosen Ron to run the race of his life either,
Right.
for various reasons. And that's why at 5-2 in the morning line, I like Big City Lights to beat the Chosen Ron, who is listed at 4-5 on the morning line.
Among the many indelible things he left us with, our old buddy Bob Newmeyer, that was one of his main things. After the Breeders' Cup, take a stand against every name horse coming out of the Breeders' Cup when they return, because there's always an overbet factor that the public is enamored with them. And again, it's past the peak, as you're saying. You know, you're brought up to the Breeders' Cup. It's the money race. It's the one. And everybody's trained up to peak at that one. So now you're going to have to win a race after Breeders' Cup, not at your peak. And you're going to do it at underlay odds. So it's a good time to take a shot against them. And you've got one you like. You know, that's the one thing about trying to beat a favorite or just go against a horse. You got to have an opinion on somebody else. And the fact that you have one here is what draws you into this particular race.
The other thing, Jeremy, is that if you want to bet on Big City Lights and you look at the fact that in the last 3 races that they ran, Big City Lights was beaten every time by the Chosen Ron. It's hard to say, well, you know, he's already tried him 3 times. He couldn't beat him. Why do I think you'll beat him today? So that kind of adds to the fuel of the fire that we're going to get a decent price, because the average person will say, he can't beat, and maybe he can't. But I think if he's ever going to beat him, it'll be under these circumstances.
Right. Now's the time to do it and take the price when you can get it, for sure. So at Del Mar on Saturday, we've got 2 stakes races there towards the end of the card. Remember, when you play First Bet and Express Bet Del Mar Racing throughout the course of this autumn meet, there's a $2,000 late pick 4 hit and split. So if you hit the late pick 4 at Del Mar on any racing day this season of the fall meet, you'll get not only the pari-mutuel winnings, but your share of $2,000 just shared with players on the Express Bet and First Bet platforms who also hit the late pick 4. So take advantage of that. We've got a couple stakes races here. Maybe you got a free space here or there. Maybe you can upset the Chosen Ron, get a little bit better payoff in that late pick 4, and then share the winnings with $2,000 in hit and split additional money coming up every day at Del Mar, Friday, Saturday, Sunday racing this particular weekend at Old Del Mar. We're going to turn our attention to Monday for a rare look-ahead race here on the Friday podcast. The Mahoning Valley Steel Valley Sprint has already been drawn. $300,000 in the purse for this one. Irad Ortiz coming to town. He's riding for Safi Joseph. You got Jorge Delgado, Cal Lynch bringing horses in. Kenny McPeak's got one in from around the country. Steve Asmussen sending Rivet to town. Larry Ravelli, Breeders' Cup winning trainers, got uncashed. You've got some names at Mahoning Valley that you just don't see most days of the year, any other day of the year. Jeff, the Steel Valley Sprint is the featured race here at 6 furlongs. There's a couple other stakes supporting on the undercard. Field of 10 in here, a pretty decent betting race. How'd you see it shaking out?
Tough race. It really is. You've got 2 horses coming out of the Gallant Bob, Damons Mound, who won that race, and then the horse that was second, Nautical Star. There's a 5-pound shift in the weights for whatever that's worth, favoring Nautical Star. Also, that race was over a very wet, muddy track. I don't know whether you can necessarily trust the form, but I think Nautical Star, to me, has a chance, if it's fast ground, to turn the tables on that. I love his style. He can sit second or third or fourth and then blast home, and I think that's how Irad Ortiz Jr. will ride him. Then you got to deal with Uncashed. Very, very fast horse. He's won 5 out of 7. He was unplaced in his last start, but that was grass. That's apples and oranges as far as I'm concerned. Don't worry about that race. Toss it out. Means nothing. He's outside. He's the kind of horse that is probably going to be on the lady, maybe the quickest in the quick. He can pop and go or stalk and pounce if that is required. I expect Uncashed to rebound and run back to that 96 Beyer number that he earned when he trounced the field in the Quick Call Stakes, which was a sloppy track race. So we don't know if that moved him up that much or not. Numbers-wise, his other races aren't quite as good as the others. So I'm still I'm not sure what to do with Uncashed. But I'm going to try to beat Damons Mound, who was back in winning form. You remember he was all the rage as a 2-year-old. Right. When the Saratoga Special, looks like he's regained that form. Or maybe it's the wet track that made him look better. And then Nautical Star. This is a good race. I mean, it depends on whether or not you trust the wet track form. If you do, then you might look at Damons Mound or Uncashed. But me, I'm going to go with Nautical Star. Might be a better price at 7-2.
Maybe if that's the case, you're doing a rain dance for the Ohio area on Monday. But There was no rain dance needed at Parks when the Gallant Bob was part of the Pennsylvania Derby undercard. One of the ugliest days of racing all year in terms of weather, but it was a sweet victory for Damons Mound in that one. Let's go back with Jessica Paquette for the call.
As it hit the top of the stretch, the half 45-1. Rivets coming right back. Damons Mound is game on the outside. Nautical Star. Here comes 90% Maddie with a big run from off the pace. Damons Mound is fighting on. Damons Mound will not let Nautical Star by. There's a 16th left to go. Damons Mound and Junior Alvarado. They're going to take the Gallant Bob. Damons Mound wins over Nautical Star, followed by Gordian Knot and 90% Maddie.
Michelle Lovell's got Damons Mound back in that good 2-year-old form like Jeff talked about, off 2 straight wins, looking for 3 in a row. Also want to remind you, coming up on Saturday this week, it's the Oakland Stakes, 6-furlong sprint on the main track at Golden Gate Fields to be run over the Tapeta. It's our Express Bet race of the week. If you'd like to get my full analysis for that, be sure to check out the Express Bet email newsletter sent out each week and sign up for that, expressbet.com or at news.first.com. And get you on the email list for the Express Bet email newsletter, the Oakland Stakes, one of the features races there. And I'll tell you what, Jeff, there's a horse, Top Harbor. You talk about horses for courses, and we talked about Chaluki earlier, and we talked about the horse running up at Woodbine and the Kennedy Road, just loving the track there at Woodbine. How about Top Harbor? 8 starts on the Golden Gate main track, 5 wins, 2 seconds, and a third, and defending champion in the Oakland. Just doesn't miss fire up there. I think it's tough to beat.
Yeah, Tim McKenna trains him, and he trains the top 3 favorites in that race. He also trains for me, so I talked with him a couple of days ago, and I said, you got 3 in there. Which one do you like? And, of course, he said, I like all 3 of them. I said, a lot of help that is. You know? But you're right about Top Harbor. I was actually up north at Golden Gate Field when he won the Lost in the Fog that day. And he is a pro. I mean, he's a synthetic specialist. But the other 2 horses in the race that he trains also love Golden Gate Fields, the all-weather there, the Tapeta. So they're all doing well, but I think the favorite's going to win that race. I don't know how you went with it, but I'll look it up. But,
Rager, and Unraptured are the other
right.
2.
They're all 3 of them good. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they're 1, 2, 3. Really good trainer up there, Tim McKenna, and he's got. I mean, that you can see the consistent form that all 3 of them have in that race, and that's a credit not only to the horse, but to the trainer as well.
So that's a look at the Oakland Stakes Saturday at Golden Gate Fields. If you like to play handicapping tournaments, this is a great time to get involved for not a lot of money. A series of $80 tournaments, feeder tournaments for the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship, the big $6,000 tournament coming up in January at Gulfstream Park. You can get involved in that for as little as $80 with a series of tournaments, and a lot of them on the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship tour, if you will, online at expressbet.com. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this week, 3 tournament chances each day at Gulfstream. $80 tournament entry fee to try to get your way into the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. You know, you're going to take home several $100,000 if you can take down the PWPC in December or in January. So be sure to get involved in that. And you can also qualify for the Santa Anita Opening Day Challenge for the opening day of the Classic meet there on December 26th. There are a series of $80 tournaments playing Del Mar this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So $80 tournaments coinciding, 2 different tracks. You can play them for Gulfstream for the Pegasus tournament, or you can play the feeder tournaments at Del Mar this weekend towards that Santa Anita Opening Day Challenge. So just $80 a piece. The tournaments are on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend. So a lot cooking at ExpressBet in the tournament section. And if you didn't catch it earlier this week, I had a chance to talk on the phone for a good amount this week with Sean Borman, the winner of the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. Took home $642,000, I believe it was. And we posted that blog at expressbet.com and at news.first.com. You can go see how the money was won and get a little handicapping and tournament insight from Sean. Always great to talk to other horse players and get their sense of things. And that's why Jeff and I do this podcast together each and every Friday. We're looking at races. He sees things. I see things. We compare notes and see if we can't come up with our best strategy and our best feet forward. Hopefully you'll have a good weekend, Jeff. And I know that you've got a lot of stuff with your best plays and things like that still going on here as we await Santa Anita's return.
Yeah, we got 2 today. We'll have 4 tomorrow, 2 on Sunday, and I'll be in Honolulu for the Maui Classic
Monday
night. And then on But I'll be back in action. I'll be back for Thanksgiving and by Thanksgiving. So we'll do it again next weekend. We'll be doing that. And good racing coming up. It used to be in California. We would be kind of waiting for the day after Christmas for the opening day at Santa Anita. But while we won't be producing any podcasts next week on Thanksgiving weekend, we are preparing for December. We don't have to wait till December 26th now with racing at Fairgrounds opening up today. And also you got Oakland Park and then, of course, the major meeting at Gulfstream Park in December. So money to be made in December, and we'll be gearing up for that. A long plane ride back and forth. I'll be doing some research. I got all my books and notes and charts, and I don't waste any time. I don't care if it's vacation or not. I'm working. There's always time for research. I want to be prepared when I get back.
In Maui, you might run into Quigley out there. Tom Quigley from San.
Oh, he's going. He's going.
Yeah,
he's going.
He was at Cameron Indoor for the Duke Arizona game the other night. I saw him tweeting out pictures. I had to text him, and so he had a good time. He's taking in his basketball time of year now.
Yeah, no, I talked to him about 3 weeks ago. He had every intention, or has every intention, of going to Honolulu. With obviously not in Maui this year, but it's amazing how many horse players are college basketball fans. There's a crossover there that I don't understand. I'm one. I'm the poster boy, I think, for that. You'll be talking horses, and when of course UCLA will be there with Mick Cronin. He'd rather talk horses than basketball anyway. So it's funny the way it is, and I just I know what it is. It's just it's the way it is. So anyway, so again, remind the people that we will not be on the air or on the internet next week. But we'll be back the following week after Thanksgiving. I want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, and stay cool.
That sounds great. We will be back in a little over a week's time, as Jeff said, the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, as we return with our It's Official podcast, where we'll wrap up a big Thanksgiving weekend of racing with a lot of great stakes action, Churchill Downs, Fairgrounds, Naira. You get a lot of great action over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. So we'll be back to wrap that up Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So on behalf of Jeff, put him in a fancy colored shirt, get the lays over his neck, and enjoy the time next week, my friend. And we'll be back in a little over a week's time. So on behalf of Jeff and myself and everybody with First Bet, have a great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and we'll see you in a bit.